Imagine a world where the balance of power in one of the most volatile regions shifts overnight, where a decades-long shadow war erupts into a blaze of precision and strategy. That moment is here, and it's unfolding with seismic implications. On June 12 to 13, 2025, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a multi-domain campaign that has struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear ambitions and military capabilities. This isn't just another chapter in a long-standing conflict. It's a bold, calculated move to reshape the Middle East's strategic landscape. Let me take you through what's happened, why it matters, and what it means for the future. This campaign, described by Israeli officials as the opening volley in a weeks-long air campaign, is a direct assault on Iran's nuclear weaponization efforts. It's not about containment anymore, it's about incapacitation. The strikes have delivered verifiable, devastating blows to Iran's strategic assets. Key nuclear enrichment sites, like the Natanz facility, have suffered significant physical and operational damage. Iran's air defense systems, once touted as formidable, have been crippled, granting Israel undeniable air dominance over Iranian skies. The systematic targeting of key scientific and military personnel has left Iran's nuclear program reeling, with critical expertise lost. And let's not forget Iran's proxy networks, the so-called axis of resistance, which have been profoundly weakened, their regional influence crumbling. These strikes have exposed Iran's vulnerabilities, dismantling the regime's narrative of an invincible nuclear dream and an unassailable military machine. The evidence is clear. Iran's boasts of resilience have been shattered, and the regional power balance has shifted decisively. To understand the weight of these events, we need to step back and look at the broader context. Iran has long insisted its nuclear program is peaceful, meant only for civilian purposes. But the International Atomic Energy Agency and Western nations tell a different story. The IAEA has warned that Iran's stockpile of 60% enriched uranium is enough to produce several nuclear bombs, far beyond what's needed for civilian energy. Western intelligence has long suspected Iran ran a weapons program until at least 2003, and concerns about its true intentions persist. Just before the Israeli strikes on June 12, 2025, the IAEA issued a rare censure of Iran, its first in 2 decades, for failing to cooperate fully and transparently on undeclared nuclear activities. Iran's response? Defiance. It announced plans for a new enrichment site and advanced centrifuges at its underground Fordo facility, signaling an escalation despite global pressure. For Israel, this was a red line, an urgent threat that demanded action. This isn't a new conflict. It's the culmination of years of escalating tensions. Remember Stuxnet in 2010, the US-Israeli cyber weapon that wrecked Iranian centrifuges, or the 2020 explosion at Natanz, widely attributed to Israel. The assassination of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, a top Iranian nuclear scientist, later that year. These were all part of a shadow war that's now burst into the open. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called Iran's nuclear program an existential threat, warning that a nuclear-armed Iran could endanger Israel's very existence. With diplomacy faltering and Iran's proxies weakened, Israel saw a closing window to act. The result? A campaign of unprecedented scope and precision. Let's talk about how Israel pulled this off. Operation Rising Lion is a masterclass in multi-domain warfare. Precision airstrikes, covert operations, cyber attacks, sabotage, and targeted assassinations, all woven together to maximize impact while minimizing risk. The Israel Air Force has achieved something extraordinary: complete air superiority over Iran. Security officials confirmed on June 14, 2025, that the IAF can now operate freely as far as Tehran thanks to the destruction of most of Iran's air defense systems. Key targets included an early warning radar in Hamadan and defenses around the Fordo facility. Israel didn't just rely on air power. It smuggled weapons into Iran, deployed explosive drones, and used precision missiles to neutralize anti-aircraft sites. Iranian claims of overwhelming Israel's defenses with ballistic missiles, they don't hold up. Independent assessments and even Iranian media confirm damage to sites like Tabriz Air Base and Madani Airport, proving Israel's ability to penetrate and strike at will. At the heart of the campaign is the targeting of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The Natanz facility, Iran's oldest and most critical enrichment site, took a massive hit. IAEA Chief Rafael Grossi confirmed the destruction of its above-ground section, where uranium was enriched to 60% purity. Satellite imagery shows devastation. Power substations obliterated, advanced centrifuges reduced to rubble. The underground section may have been spared direct hits, but power loss and shock waves likely damaged delicate equipment. Fordo, buried deep under a mountain, was also targeted, possibly through sabotage or strikes on its defenses. Other sites, like Parchin and the Kondab reactor, felt the impact, as did military bases and missile sites across Iran. The damage is extensive, and experts estimate it could delay Iran's nuclear ambitions by a year or more. But Israel didn't stop at infrastructure. They went after the minds behind the program. Key scientists like Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi and Feridun Abbasi were killed, along with military personnel guarding critical sites. This isn't new. Israel has a history of targeting Iran's nuclear expertise, from Mohsen Fakhrizadeh to others over the years. These losses create voids that Iran will struggle to fill, slowing its ability to rebuild. And then there's the axis of resistance. Hamas has been gutted, its leadership decimated, its command structure in ruins. Hezbollah, once a regional powerhouse, is battered, its leader Hassan Nasrallah killed, its firepower and infrastructure reduced by over 70%. Operations like Grim Reaper, which turned Hezbollah's own devices into deadly weapons, have shattered its morale and exposed its weaknesses. Iran's proxies are in disarray, unable to mount a meaningful response. Iran's reaction has been a mix of denial and bravado. The regime initially downplayed the strikes, admitting only to damage at Natanz while dismissing attacks on Fordo and Esfahan. But the truth slipped through: admissions of civilian casualties, the death of senior scientists, and damage to military sites. Iran's claims of a crushing missile barrage on Israel are contradicted by the evidence. Israel's air dominance remains unchallenged, and Iran's defenses are in tatters. The regime's rhetoric, framing its nuclear program as a pillar of survival, can't mask the reality. These strikes have exposed Iran's vulnerabilities and heightened its fears of collapse. The swift replacement of slain commanders shows the regime scrambling to recover, but the damage is done. What does this mean for the future? Israel's campaign is a game changer. It's not just about slowing Iran's nuclear program, it's about dismantling its ability to rebuild. The loss of expertise, infrastructure, and proxies has set Iran back significantly. But challenges remain. Deeply buried sites like Fordo may require US support to fully neutralize, and Israel's multi-stage approach suggests more strikes are coming. This conflict is redefining the region, shifting power dynamics, and raising questions about the global nuclear order. Iran's 60% enrichment already pushed the limits of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and these strikes could further strain it. If Iran doubles down, it risks sparking a regional arms race. The response from powers like Russia and China, who defend Iran's right to enrichment, will shape what comes next. In closing, Operation Rising Lion is a triumph of strategy and execution. It's exposed the fragility of Iran's nuclear ambitions and its military machine. Israel has shown it can strike deep, dominate the skies, and dismantle Iran's regional influence. The regime's narrative of invincibility lies in ruins, replaced by a stark reality. Its nuclear dream is faltering, and its grip on power is weaker than ever. As this campaign continues, the world watches a region in flux, where the balance of power is being redrawn. The question now is whether Iran will retreat or push forward, and what that choice will mean for us all.